Do you guys remember what happened in January of 2025? That is a question I thought about recently because the end of the year is coming. 2025 is coming to a close. And I feel like so much shit has happened in 2025 musically that I like want to do these and see what were like the top stories or the most important things that happened. This was the first big moment or big song that dropped in 2025. And this should have foreshadowed how the year was gonna go. I'm not gonna lie. This is definitely what actually started the year. Yeah. In terms of hip hop, for sure.
Moved out the city, copped the house in the sticks. Couple acres, couple whips, whole lot of blicks.
Yeah.
I got options, baby.
By the way, yeah, January 1st, this literally is the way it started. I'm seeing some Joey Badass hate. Do you guys like this song? I remember when this song first came out, I thought it was like, oh, this is a vibe. And I understood the whole appeal of like him trying to like call out people and say like the ruler's back, like it's his year, he's gonna take over. I liked it as a idea, but as the year continues and as we get through the other months of the year and we would come back to some of the beefs that was happening this year, this was all for nothing. Truly, it was all for nothing. I appreciate what Joey Badass tried to do, but he literally did try to run back the playbook of dissing somebody to get enough attention so then you can drop your album based on the diss. At first, when this song dropped, there was like 3 months that nothing really came of it. So you thought, okay, it didn't work. Then he tried to double down. He dropped a couple more songs to get attention. But then it took the Red Bull freestyle later in the year to get like Ray Vaughn and a lot of the West Coast rapper Reason. Like all the hip hop rejects you can think of that thought that they could run back the play of just dissing an artist to get attention. It happened. Everybody did it to absolutely minimal effect. It will become kind of a pattern in the year of like what people think you had to do to be relevant in hip hop in 2025 because of the great rap civil war of 2024. This is why I like looking back, bro. Like right as the year is over, I want us to look back at what happened at the top of the year because some of this shit is like gonna be completely buried in the annals of time. Is that right? Did I get that right? Annals of time? Is that because that is dangerously close to another word? It's annals, right? That's the thing. Hold on, now. Yeah, let's go. I know words. Okay, now next thing. Not only were disses very popular in 2025, but also streamers. People started to realize the importance of streamers within hip hop, and I think one of the earliest examples of the year that I remember that combined both. Do y'all remember this? Come on, ladies and gentlemen. Fabio Foreign, I'm the real Black Boy Max. Not really Max. And I really got Plex.
Yeah, double digits, no cap.
I'm the real Black Boy Max. Yo, bro, what we doing? What we doing, man? To me, I can't believe I forgot this happened this year because this was such a fucking moment at the top of the year. In terms of like older rappers in the game that were looking for relevancy and realized not only can I diss and get some relevance, I can also diss streamers and get some relevance. What? The reason it's entertaining is because it's so shameless. It's so shameless that a rapper of his age who's like, how old is fucking Fabio Foreign, yo? How old is Fabio Foreign? 35 years, yo. What we doing, man? What we doing, bro? 35 years old. He's trying to diss fucking Black Boy Max. This shit fried me. We should have known this was going to be like a meta moving forward, which like a lot of people this year have tried beefing with Black Boy Max. And not only that, but I think Black Boy Max, I think something like this has definitely solidified him as like a real person inside of hip hop, which, you know, a lot of people may not want to recognize, but that shit was happening. To stay in the streamer range. Do you guys remember this song? I don't know if anybody's still listening to this song. But this was, I remember, like, I would hear this all over my TikTok. A-Rage. 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 The backstory of this shit is hilarious to me. Here's why. The origin of this was a sort of Song Wars Black Boy Max situation where Your Rage had artists that were going to make music on behalf of Your Rage versus Black Boy Max had artists who were going to make music on behalf of Black Boy Max. And they went ahead. And Benji Bluebills, he's an underground rapper. He made this song in the context of the Song Wars. And it just so happened to be so catchy that people like just genuinely started fucking with the song. It went kind of viral on TikTok. He even made a music video to it. And not only that, this directly led to an album that I'm pretty sure nobody knows exists. Benji Bluebells and Benny X made an album together. All because of that shit. Yeah, that Jay shit was January 2. Tootsie did him dirty. Oh my god, bro. Yes. Yes, that also happened. Yes, the Jace versus Tootsie shit was also January? Damn. Yeah, Jace took a lot of L's in January. Also, it's just funny to me there were 2 streamer anthems in January. Like hip-hop songs about streamers. It just really shows the direction in which hip-hop is going and who's at the forefront and who are the people that are cool inside of it. In terms of albums, I think the first critically acclaimed album of the year was probably this one. And now that some time has passed, I would like for us to tell the truth about this album. Who still thinks that this Balloonerism Lost Mac Miller album is one of the better albums of the year? I don't want to get the wrath of Mac Miller fans, but I remember when this shit dropped, people were like really saying like this is gonna be one of the best albums of the year. I love Balloonerism because it was my first time listening to it when it dropped on streaming. It was the same. It was same for me, Linz. It was the first time that I've heard this album. I know this is like the lore behind this album is that like this is the original version of like the last album that he dropped. I believe it's like important in the lore of Mac Miller, and it finally dropped, and people were excited for it because it was new Mac Miller music, even though it was posthumous. Let that man rest in peace. Listen, I think Mac Miller's estate and his family, I think, are trying to do the most ethical version of like posthumous music that they can, but I feel like that runs across like this very strong kind of like border of like how ethical is it to put out posthumous music in general, you know? So there's always going to be a little uncomfortable of a topic, but people did like this Balloonerism album, so I just wanted to highlight it. I feel like in terms of bodies of work, this was, I think, the first album of the year that I saw people like collectively be like, nah, this is great. Also, another album that I think is going to be a very important album in terms of, I think it's the first album that cemented this British rapper in the consciousness of a lot of American rap fans. And it was the Central C Can't Rush Greatness album, which also happened in the top of 2025 in January. I remember Central C, speaking of streamers, went on Playboy Max to promote the album. This was the album that I saw a lot of people, a lot of rap fans listen to and be like, wait, hold on. Central C is a pretty good rapper. A lot of people were kind of surprised by it because, again, UK rap just has a connotation still to a certain extent. I'm telling you, when lists start coming out this year about the best hip-hop albums of the year, a lot of people are going to include this album because I do think it's as close to like a crowd-pleasing UK release as we've gotten this year. There's other rappers that are going to come this year like Jim Legacy and Dave, but I think those albums maybe are more critically than like commercially successful. This one kind of met in the middle for both. Also, going from one of the more mainstream releases of January 2025 to one of the most niche releases of 2025, it's Osama Sun's Jump Out. Now, listen, I know Osama Sun is very divisive, right? I personally don't really fuck with Osama Sun, but this album was very important at the top of this year. Listen, everybody, listen, whether you love him or hate him, mostly hate him, I understand. But if I am doing my due diligence of covering music that dropped in 2025 or musical moments, I think Osama Sun's Jump Out, this album, along with the other one that dropped this year, highlights obviously a changing of the tides for what the young people like. Now, I'll tell you this. There's one song on this album that I actually kind of like, and it's this one. I actually like this song. It's the intro, so... Also, here's the other thing that's funny about this. Like, comparing this intro to the Psychotic intro of his second album that he dropped in 2025, it's like night and day. Thank you, Linz! That's what I'm saying. Not my type of music, but this album really did make noise. That's what I'm saying. Like, I want us to, like, get outside of our fucking... like biases and just look at, if I'm talking about the things that mattered in hip-hop in 2025 January, this is definitely part of it. Come on, lock in, chat. Lock in. Let's be honest, bro, that's not that bad, bro. To be fair, it's one of his least like distorted sounds. Like, it's one of his least like crazy songs, but this shit not that bad, bro. What are we doing? Here's what I find ironic about this album. Already, of the first 2 tracks, probably his most welcoming songs that he's ever made. And then for whatever reason, later on the year, he comes and drops Psychotic is the name of the second album he dropped in 2025. That is the complete opposite of this shit, gang. It's so crazy. It's like actively repelling any new artist, which I think is such an interesting approach for like artists. I understand there's almost this kind of like countercultural thing that's going on with like the Osama Sons of the world. And so they're like, they want to push you away if you're not in this wavelength. So they don't want you to listen to the music. Not really. No, they don't. They're actively which sounds confusing, but think about it. I think it's, again, like I explained, it's a countercultural thing. It's definitely like, this music is only meant for us 19-year-old autistic white kids that went to high school during the pandemic and don't know how to socialize and only listen to music on headphones, right? Like that's a niche. That is a hyper niche that exists in hip hop music right now. That people like Osama Son provide that kind of music. And to them, if your music is accessible, if it's mainstream, if it's commercial, then it's lame, it's boring, it's uncool. The more people you can alienate and push away, the cooler it feels. But now this one, chat, I'm not gonna lie, this is my favorite thing that happened in 2025 that truly you for sure forgot about. This has been memory wiped from everybody. It's almost as if it didn't happen, and I can guarantee this was meant to be one of the bigger songs of the year. When I went back to see what happened in January 2025, it fried me because I'd completely forgotten about this. Who remembers this song, chat? Chat, who remembers this? Fat, Juicy, and Wet. Yeah! Let's go! This is one of the most ridiculous songs of 2025. There's no reason this should have happened. Now, I understand why this exists. First of all, Bruno Mars did this 3-single song like run where he collaborated with a K-pop artist, I'm forgetting her name, collaborated with Lady Gaga, and then collaborated with Sexy Red. And this was going to be him kind of without Rose, thank you. That was supposed to be him kind of like showing people that he's still alive without him dropping an album. This was the funniest one because this is the only one that flopped. Like, the Rose or Rose, however you pronounce it, that song went crazy. The Lady Gaga song went fucking crazy. This one fucking flopped. Because it's like, who is this song for? Like, genuinely. The shine of this song, it's like, the budget of it, the way it sounds, Bruno Mars, like, presence, gives it this, like, pop sheen. But who wants to hear a pop Sexy Red song? That makes no sense. Like, the whole appeal of that is like, I guess the vulgarity, for lack of a better word, is kind of the appeal. How does that make sense with pop music? Also, here's what fried me. Here's how I know they wanted this shit to be a hit, like a strip club anthem, because they were using like the West Coast whole sound. They were doing a West Coast sound coming off of Not Like Us and Kendrick's dominance in 2024. They're like, I know what's gonna go crazy. It's gonna be this type of beat, Sexy Red on the hook. And it's just so funny to me how crazy this flop. Oh, by the way, this is what fried me. Here's how I know this song should have also like been a massive success. The end of this music video was used to show this was all part of a fucking like cinematic universe of Bruno Mars singles. Like here, Lady Gaga, Rose, Sexy Red, and Bruno Mars were together again. What are we doing, bro? What is this line? What the fuck is this lineup? Who the fuck thought this would work, gang? Like, why was this the thing that they thought, nah, we got them with this one. They're gonna lose their fucking minds. They're gonna gag at this. Also, speaking of just like kind of empty calories, inauthentic pop rap attempts. Bro, I'm listening to this shit. This shit don't even sound real. This shit sounds like an AI song that somebody would like gaslight you into thinking it was like a real Travis Scott song. This shit came and went. Now, here's the funny thing, the funny detail about this song. This song went #1, chat. This song went #1. That shit fried me because I'm like, that is the most bought #1 song I've ever heard in my life. Nobody actually heard this fucking song. Nobody played this shit on their fucking headphones. Nobody actually was jamming to this shit. This was the most fraudulent #1 single I've ever heard in my life. And that's when I realized, yo, Travis Scott be getting away with some bullshit. Travis Scott be playing the game for a long time in terms of like him being one of the biggest artists in the industry. This song does not exist, gang. This is the fakest #1 single of the year. Nobody actually likes this song. Nobody actually heard this song. I guess it ultimately led to it being like the single for Jack Boys 2, which, you know, if you're like Kai Cenat, or if that's, you know, that's who you relate with the most, then you probably love the album. It was Kai Cenat music for sure. So some people did love it. I heard it and I did not fuck with it whatsoever. It was like some of the most generic music that I heard all year, which I guess the single should have previewed. I mean, you know, listening to this song is like, yeah, okay. Why did I think Jack Boys 2 was going to be fucking good? Now, here's one album that, you know, maybe you could say this was fraudulent. And I have some reasons to believe why this album is fraudulent. But I do think people gave a fuck about it and there was a lot of talk about it. This is the biggest album of January 2025 by far. And also probably is, I think, by the numbers, it's the biggest album of the year still. This is new The Weeknd album. Hurry Up Tomorrow. I think, again, come end of year list from fucking Complex, you know, Rolling Stone, whatever. I think a lot of people are going to put this as one of the better albums of the year. It served as a finale for not only the trilogy that The Weeknd has been working on, but also his career. Like, apparently this is the retirement of The Weeknd. This shit sold like 445,000 first week copies. That shit was crazy. I remember seeing those numbers like, ain't no way. Now, I know there's people that legitimately love this album. Me personally, in terms of the music, I did not love this album whatsoever. Forgot this shit even happened. You know what's funny, Xander? That goes into my point that I said like a couple months after the album dropped, that I'm like, this album kind of came and went. Everybody like apparently loved it when it dropped. I felt like I was on the outside looking in, because I felt like the reason that I didn't love this album is because, first of all, as a big The Weeknd fan, like The Weeknd is top 3 favorite artists that I have. And I think with After Hours and Dawn FM, he was building towards his grand trilogy to end the album, to recall the trilogy that started his career. And I had fully bought into the world that he was building musically. And I feel like with Hurry Up Tomorrow, he completely diverted from what the trilogy was supposed to sound like. And as a really big The Weeknd fan, it really fucked me up, because I just could tell this is not how the trilogy was supposed to end. Now, that sounds nerdy, but I have good reasons to think about this. The reason I believe this is, first of all, he scrapped a lot of the album when his voice gave out while singing at the SoFi Stadium. Like, he has said in interviews that like traumatized him. Like his voice giving out and not being able to sing, it like truly like fucked him up. And he scrapped a lot of what the music was supposed to be. So that changed what the project was going to be. It completely diverted from the ending of a trilogy. Then it turned into this thing where let's not forget this, because even if you forgot that this album happened, then you definitely forgot that there was a movie that this was tied to. Do you guys remember the Hurry Up Tomorrow movie? I don't know how many people actually watched that movie. To this day, I don't think it really exists. I feel like I've only seen one meme of The Weeknd like trying to like cry act. What fried me is that like not only did he not finish the trilogy that he set up, but also he ended up just making an album that was more so a soundtrack for a movie that he wanted to get going, because he keeps trying to make his fucking acting career work, and it fucking sucks. I don't know why he's doing that shit. He has to stop. It fries me that he keeps trying to do that, and I think he like fucked up the album by trying to make it this like grander thing of like, this album's actually gonna be the soundtrack to this movie, so it's tied to something larger. It's like, relax. Just make the trilogy, end it with a good album, and that's it. There's some songs that I like in here, for the most part, I never go back to this album. So I think it's just ironic, because I believe it is like probably the highest selling like R&B or hip hop album of the year, for sure, of the year. And I don't ever think about it. I feel like it came and went. So that's like the biggest peak. Now, I will say, I think one more album in January 2025 that I want to highlight to end this video. I do want to highlight what I think most people would say is the best album that came out this month. And it's from an artist that I've been seeing a lot, and I just gotta recognize. Is that boy Mike, ladies and gentlemen. Mike dropped 2 albums this year, Showbiz and Pinball 2 with with Tony Seltzer. 2 completely different albums. This is more of like a boom bappy traditional Mike sound, and the other album is more like on like Tony Seltzer, like kind of more, I guess, modern type beats. Me personally, I love Pinball 2 more, so when we get to that album, I'll highlight it. But I do think if you were to ask people that are tapped in musically, what is the best album that dropped this year, or one of the best, a lot of people would highlight this Mike album. And listen, Mike is, he has a niche, but in a world in hip hop where like everything is niche down, I think Mike probably has one of the strongest niches in music currently. On top of the bragging rights of like him being the reason that Earl Sweatshirt now sounds like that. Mike is single-handedly the reason why Earl Sweatshirt sounds the way that he sounded for the past like damn near 6 years. Which I think if I'm Mike, I'm taking that. I'm taking that to the bank, man. Truly one of the most important figures in hip hop currently.
What's the word? I go work with it. That's my bad playing hands on that nerd dig. I'm just used to trying to dance and just learn quickly. Shout out now, that's again.
Let's go. So all in all, January 2025 is probably one of the craziest mixed bags that I can remember in hip hop, bro. We got high highs like the Mike album, and we got low lows like Fat, Juicy, and Wet.
Well, hello, potty mouth.